Hey tribe, this is Sheea from Austin, your specialist in Tantra and relationships. And we're going to talk about erectile dysfunction as it relates to nitric oxide. So, this is a very common problem that seems to be expanding um, for obvious reasons that you'll find out today. So, this may be empowering where you can either I'm going to give you options for what you can start doing and what you can stop doing that will assist you in this situation. So, when you have erectile dysfunction, that is kind of almost like a canary in the coal mine situation where it lets you know your nitric oxide is not working properly, you're not creating enough of it in your body. And so, it's something you want to address right away. In women, it's not so detectable because it's just there's a lack of feeling a lot of times in that area. So it's not as obvious, but there can be obviously a loss in interest, in passion, a libido. She's not feeling very much down there in general, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go over the things not to do that contribute to this problem and why it is so widespread. And they're pretty simple things. Thank God I never participated in these things really, so it didn't affect me, but so many Americans do. So let's talk about it. So the first thing you want to eliminate is mouthwash. So mouthwash has chemicals in it, killing 99% of the bacteria in your mouth, supposedly. Well, it kills basically your microbiome in your mouth. Your microbiome starts in your mouth, and then you have it in your gut. And if you wipe it out in your mouth, then the first step towards digestion gets completely messed up. So you do not want to be using mouthwash. Now, if halitosis, bad breath, is a thing that you actually really do deal with, then you need to maybe think about adding in scraping of the tongue in the morning. That is like an Ayurvedic practice. You get a stainless steel tongue scraper, preferably, and in the morning when you wake up, you glide it across your tongue and rinse it off. And it's basically taking off the top layer. The body will put stuff on that top layer there that needs to be removed. So it's really easy for you to do this practice. They do it in India. It's just hasn't been normalized in America yet. But you can certainly order a tongue scraper and start doing that. So that is actually good for your oral microbiome to do that practice. What else? Oh, also, and that gets rid of the bad breath thing too, because you're getting rid of the bad bacteria when you do that. The second thing you can do is usually a lot of times, some of the time, bad breath comes from negative thinking. So that can be very motivating if you notice yourself in, negative thoughts, judgments, if you're being hard on yourself or whatever, it can cause bad breath. So just good to know, right? That's what the Ayurvedic people say, and that's what can create it. And so you don't want to be, it's basically toxicity, right? In your thinking that's coming out in your mouth. So we don't want that. All right, second thing is you do not want to be brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste. Fluoride affects the microbiome, and it also affects the thyroid, and that has to do with your energy level, your metabolism, and weight loss. So we don't want to be messing with that. Most people in America have a compromised thyroid, including myself. I've had to take natural supportive precursors like L-tyrosine and iodine every morning. The first thing, it's the first one of the first ritual I have is I take this kind of combination thing. Seaweed's also very good because it's high in iodine, and the L-tyrosine is another common one to take. And then they have different herbal formulas and various approaches to it, and I kind of approach it from a multi multifaceted way to support my thyroid. So if you're having a hard time losing weight and you have low energy, that's most likely it, and they don't diagnose it properly. They always tell you you're fine in the tests that they do on your blood tests and whatnot, and it's just BS. You know, that's the Western system for you. They always tell you you're within range, but you're most likely low. There's a few people that get hyperthyroid, you know, the hypo, where it's a hyperactive thyroid, which is the other direction, where you can't keep weight on, but it's usually the other way around because of the fluoride and chlorine. You know, it's fluoride from toothpaste, chlorine from our water system. If you're drinking from the tap, not a good idea. There's chemicals in there. Chlorine, you know, it's just like kind of almost like a mild form of an antibiotic, which wipes out your microbiome. So that's why so many people have gut problems. So you don't want to be taking antibiotics either. Like I avoid it like the plague, because your microbiome, especially in your gut, will be completely wiped out, and it takes a couple years to rebuild it. It's that bad. I've had to do it, and it's still not the same. So when you're you know, your gut flora and all that takes years to create, you know, all of a sudden is gone and you have to start from scratch. It takes several years. Takes a lot of money and getting the right probiotics and, you know, whole regimen of how to build with pre and postbiotics. It's a whole thing. And, you know, a lot of people don't think about that when they think about taking antibiotics, that, oh my God, it's going to wipe out my whole microbiome in my gut and I have to start from scratch. And then, you know, if they're doing several rounds or doing one every year for the flu, not a good idea. Don't do that, please. So that's all that stuff is contributing to your nitric oxide deficiency, which is very common in most people. So avoid antibiotics like the plague. Do natural stuff like garlic, and, you know, there's like certain essential oils that are really strong, like Thieves, made by Young Living Essential Oils, is known for this because the thieves didn't get the plague when they used it. And then, you know, there's strong, like cloves is another really strong one. There's a lot of immune building essential oils, and like rosemary, you know, things that are strong for the immune system that you can use. And garlic is kind of like the natural antibiotic. Like, so when you get sick, you know, do that. Take it at night, and like a pill or something, you know, a garlic clove. And that way it's not going to wipe out your whole flora, right, that you've taken years to build. So the last thing I'm going to mention about what not to do is antacids. So that's another really super common one, right? And antacids actually do the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish. It means that you don't have enough acid, actually. And so when you use an antacid, it's actually making it worse and making you less acidic, where you actually need stomach acid in order to do what your stomach needs to do, which is break down your food and digest it for you. And so most people are deficient in hydrochloric acid, which is, you know, the acid that our stomach uses to break things down. You can take supplements of HCl. A natural one is apple cider vinegar. So I kind of put apple cider vinegar in a tincture bottle that I can then squirt in my mouth before each meal, and it's super easy. Helps the whole digestive process. It's super cheap and efficient. So do that instead. Don't use antacids because they totally change your microbiome once again, and it can't work the way it needs to, and then it just makes the problem worse. Wipes out your nitric oxide, and then you have erectile dysfunction, and you had no idea it was because of the antacids you were taking, or because you were using mouthwash or antibiotics or fluoride toothpaste. Okay, so this is there's a lot of misinformation out there that they pushed on us. It's part of the programming of advertising, and for them to make a buck. And, you know, it's just, hasn't been for the good of humanity. So those are the things to stop. And then, and the things that you can do to encourage nitric oxide in your body so that you can overcome erectile dysfunction is beets are very well known for that. If you can get it in a fermented beet powder, that's one step up. As far as if you're going to do a supplement form, like I do it in both. I have the supplement form, and then I also have just gotten used to using, like I'll juice beets, and so there's the fresh version, obviously, which is best, but it's not always easy to get that into your body because it means juicing or doing smoothies or eating that much of it, vegetables, when there's only so many vegetables I can cram in, each day, right? So I tend to, when I do it fresh, I tend to make it either into a smoothie, a broth, or a juicing, because then I can get it down me easier. So you might want to do the same. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I noticed my recovery at the gym was just really poor and something was up. And so, nitric oxide is the thing that dilates the blood vessels so that you can have the blood flow, nutrients, oxygen, all that good stuff coming to every part of your body, including our sexual organs, which need, to engorge. So another part of it is it actually, nitric oxide also relaxes it so it can get engorged. So it's an interesting the way that happens. At any rate, yeah, so it's not just erectile dysfunction. That's just like the first heads up you have an issue with nitric oxide. To complete that thought, that's the first sign, but you want to nip it in the bud, because what happens is it evolves into diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, any number of conditions that they pretty much link to all the diseases, to be honest. So you want your blood flow circulation to be good, because if it's not and there's no dilation to those parts of the body, then it's basically constricted, and then the blood vessels, there's a narrowing of the blood vessels, and this is like on a cellular level, so you're going to feel it. You're either tired or any number of things, and as far as how you're able to function on the daily basis, like my inability to like recover better after a workout, right? And so it has to do with anti-aging. And so like even for the skin, they said Dr. Nathan Bryan is one of the top experts about this. He's done, his whole lifetime has been devoted to this. After nitric oxide got its award, there was a Nobel Prize award around it because it is so significant. And that's where Viagra came in, by the way, is because there was that Nobel Prize award, and so it became something that everybody's attention was on, and they created Viagra from that discovery. And so Viagra, by the way, if you don't have enough nitric oxide in your body, you will still not benefit from Viagra. So that's another indicator to you that they say it only works in like half of the men who take it, and it's because if you don't have enough nitric oxide to work with in the first place, it's not going to work at all. If you have some and it's not totally compromised, then it will work, but it's a heads up. You need to get your nitric oxide in order and fixed. So to continue the solutions to this dilemma, we know what not to do, and what you can do, as I was saying earlier, is you can go the fresh route by juicing, by making it into smoothies, or creating a broth, like a vegetable hot broth, which is kind of a nice nurturing way to do things with these particular foods that happen to be high in nitric oxide, which are beets, celery, which is probably partly why we had the big celery craze of, drinking fresh celery juice first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, because it does heal a lot of things, including the nitric oxide dilemma. When we have arugula is one of the top ones, and that's pretty easy to put in a smoothie and in the broth. And then there's all the dark green leafy vegetables are high in nitric oxide, like spinach, like kale. Bok choy is another one high on the list. And so there's some examples of the top ones that you can, like I do, use my pressure cooker, get it into a broth form, not overcooking it. I always have to pull the plug so it doesn't overdo it, because those pressure cookers are designed, I think, to overcook things a little bit. And we just sort of want to steam it enough to get into the liquid so that we can drink it. And so that's one way. And then I do the fresh juicing piece. Like when it comes to the beets, that's what I did for what I'm doing now. I can add arugula, and I've added like citrus, because I just got a citrus press, so I can add like lemon, lime, orange, grapefruit to the beets, and kind of makes for a really nice, very uplifting, cheerful drink, right? That I start with in the morning after my celery juice. And I kind of sip it throughout the day just to sort of give myself a steady flow of it. And my body really likes it. It is pretty uplifting and kind of refreshing, right? And what else? Because I personally, in my lifestyle, I'm not able to sit there and eat beets and kale and all this bulk and all this fiber. You would have to eat so much of it to give you the amounts you need. And so even Dr. Nathan Bryan, who actually lives not that far from Austin, says that, you would have to take quite a bit to, like, if you're completely deficient and you're having ED, you're going to want to step it up more than that, possibly. So that's why he created and patented several products on his website, which is N for nitrogen 101.com. So N as in Nancy 101.com, which is a little tricky because I noticed there is another company called nutrition101.com. It's not that one. It's N101. And I believe the 101 part, the O is literally an O, not a 0. Because that's what because I talked to him on the phone, and that's what he said made the difference. So he created this patented lozenge that you can take. It gets sold out a lot and back ordered and stuff, but it's a lozenge that literally starts in the mouth, because that's important, and then it dissolves and does its whole effect. And that's a really popular way to go. I believe he also has the supplement form as well, and he also has a cutting edge skin product that has a dual casing, because nitric oxide is a gas. It's a little bit weird to work with, which is why he had to discover how to get it in a form that we could ingest. And as far as the skin goes, because it does have to do with anti-aging and getting rid of wrinkles and stuff, it has a dual canister that mixes together when you pump it. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm excited to. And so he has that whole piece as well. I did look at some other companies, and there are some decent products that looks like they kind of are like copycats from him, or slightly variations from him. You don't want to go for the ones that have L-citrulline and L-arginine in them. He says that the body has enough of that usually, and you don't want to be loading it with a bunch more, because then that can lead to other problems. So that's another misinformation piece in the nitric oxide puzzle, is if it's using those two things of L-citrulline and L-arginine, just stay away from it. That's not the way to go. He said it's not going to work, and it's not going to do the job. You need, most of them have the good ones have fermented beet root powder in them, and then what looks like kind of like a combination of vitamins that are precursors or involved in the mechanics of it all. that kind of look like, and what's the word I'm looking for? Electrolytes. So I notice like they seem to be the same ones. Like there's like 5 that I've noticed in these top-notch products that they add to the fermented beetroot powder. So it'll be like thiamine, I think it's vitamin C is always in that stack. I think there's another B vitamin in there, B12 I want to say. I'm just going off of memory right now. And it seems like there might be 1 or 2 more that they use. And that's probably, you know, because Dr. Nathan Bryan is the one that came up with that, because it all works together to give you that nitric oxide effect. And so I'm trying to think. I, you know, might talk further about it after I've actually tried these products. They're on their way, and I've just been doing the natural route right now, and it is helping. And so I'm going to add the supplementation piece onto it to make it even better, because, you know, he even said you only can ingest so much of these vegetables per day. And if your amounts are really low, you want to really, you know, support it and get it in your system enough to where you can feel that difference. So anyway, I hope that's so helpful for those of you who are experiencing ED. You can certainly improve it and totally overcome it. It's very doable. And I will most likely have these supplements available in my business as a tantric specialist, so that they're right here. You can just take them as part of your experience, and you know, leave with the bottle in hand. All right, well, gosh, I know a lot of you are probably thrilled to get this information, so I'm super happy, because it is important. No one wants to suffer with ED. I mean, that would be very challenging, and I have men that, you know, are in their 30s starting to experience this. So just stop that mouthwash and all that stuff, and do all the right stuff, and get rid of all the stuff that's affecting it, and you should be fine.